Okay, so it says it's recording. All right, so now what you need to do with this video documentary thing is just pretend this camera's not here, okay? And just act as you normally do, but not as crazy. Tone it down a little bit. All right. Yes. Yes, I do. You like my red pen or? All right. I got this great book called Doing Oral History from my contact on this, Dr. Maxwell at the Citadel. And so I have little excerpts from it that we're going to read today. It's not very long, it's just a little bit. And you guys probably remember from Miss Wilson's class, when you watch the video or whatever, y'all did like little guided worksheets. Y'all ever did this? Y'all remember this? Yeah. Okay, same kind of thing, but it's with the reading. All right, so it's a daily grade, fill in the blank, you know, it's pretty easy. So we're going to do that. But first, I got to show you guys something. Sing, Brianna.
Man, that's encourage it. Don't encourage it.
Hit the notes to my
Show this to your class. He's supposed to go to the website.
No, the bad stuff I'm going to hit it out for real.
16. We're watching it. Oh, this is my school.
All right, guys. This is a little workshop that was put together by.
Look at the screen. Look at the screen. Epilepsy. Messed up and nobody used the screen.
She was.
That's kind of cool.
This is a shame.
You're trying to give us book blend.
All right, hey, if this is giving you epilepsy, just look away. But anyway, this is a workshop.
Today is sexy.
You shouldn't hit it.
He said the abnormal sound. This is a trial run.
Yeah, this thing is wigging out. All right, anyway, you just had to ignore it. This is a workshop that was put together by Carrie Taylor and Mary Jo Fairchild for the Low Country Oral History Alliance. These are the people that do it at the Citadel, okay? And I have changed a couple of things on here, but for our purposes, this is going to explain oral history to you guys, all right? Okay, so oral history is essentially a verbal reminiscence or description of past events or experience, usually recorded in interviews, all right? So that's the point of it. Now, for years, people thought that the people that needed to be interviewed were important people, right? But with oral history, there was this big push to say, wait a minute, we're not getting the whole story, we're not getting the real story. So they might have gone out like in the 30s and interviewed people that were experiencing the Dust Bowl. And what kind of people were those people? They were like poor people, you know what I mean? They weren't important people. If you wanted to do like Pedro, Gerald, if you want to do like an oral history of like Bella Geechee culture, who would you interview?
That lady.
Would you interview the mayor of Beaufort or something?
Concord.
Who would you interview?
You got to interview a Della speaker or something like that.
Right, you know, like your grandmother or something. Somebody who knows about that kind of stuff.
Her aunt, the queen,
Right? So that's the idea. It's the oldest method of doing history. It goes back to the Socratic method. And it's also like one of the newest methods of doing history. But it's also cool for us because it helps us think about things in regard to literature, like memory and stuff like that. This was the first guy to ever do it, Alan Nevins. He did it at Columbia. All right, so here's some of the good things about it. You know, what do people do nowadays to record their thoughts and memories and stuff?
They write.
Autobiography. Yeah, maybe they blog or whatever. They do emails, but it's like few of us really do the things that people used to do, like keep journals and stuff. So the idea of oral history was put forward, and the idea is that unless it's recorded by somebody, what's going to happen to the information?
It's gonna be gone.
It's going to be gone with the wind, right? You know.
Oh, both of y'all. Whatever.
This is another interesting aspect of it. It allows you, as a historian, to participate in the history that you are documenting, which is pretty cool, right? You get into the community too. Now, here's some of the cautions of using it, all right? Memory, right? You have to go by what people remember. And is memory always accurate?
Nah.
Cochran, you're in the Explorers, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You're going to be a police officer, you think?
Yeah.
There's this thing in police work, and I forget what it's called, but it's about, don't police, when they get up on a crime scene, don't they interview people individually?
Yeah.
Before, instead of just taking a big group story, they don't let witnesses get together and talk about what they saw, right?
Yeah.
Because something happens called, like, the cohesion of memory. So people's stories start merging together, and then they remember things differently.
And they start to believe things that actually didn't happen.
Yeah, have you guys ever?
It is relatively easy to make folks know.
Hey, you guys ever done that? You guys ever like watched a movie when you were little and you remember it a certain way, and then you go back and watch it when you're an adult and you're like, oh my
Oh
god,
yeah. Oh my goodness.
so Space Jam?
No, Home Alone.
For me, it
You
was
watch a kid show again.
Huck Finn.
The master stuff in the show.
You guys ever read Huck Finn?
Yeah.
You sitting there.
When I was a kid, I read Huck Finn, and it was like, hey, listen, guys. Oh no, SpongeBob references. Anyway, when I was a kid, I read Huck Finn, and it was like, this is a cool adventure story. This is neat. He's on a raft. Okay, you go back and read it as an adult, and it's like the most racist thing you've ever seen. They got him. They're torturing Jim, and they don't call him Jim, right? You might remember the story.
I never read it.
They call him N-word Jim. They're torturing. They're like throwing snakes into the outhouse that he's trapped in, and he's screaming, and they're like laughing, and it's like, what?
Wait, you as a kid, how can you think those?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was stupid, you know. All right, so it must be remembered also that oral history is only one piece of the pie, right? These are some steps for determining how your oral history project is going to go. For us, the only preparation that we really need is to, how would you be prepared for this interview?
Have your
Jared?
questions prepared.
How would you be prepared?
You're a list of all questions to ask. I just go based off, you know.
Just act. To me,
You might be able to build a natural rapport with somebody.
who are you insight when drinking?
It's called insight thinking, so I can
You just do it
Insight
like
thinking?
just do it.
Well, Maria was right, but you know, you do have to click with this person. So we may have to rearrange who we're going to be with.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Because we want to. What are we trying to get in our oral history project?
You're trying to get a message or you're trying to get, you know, to go somewhere with it.
We are trying to get the best. I don't want to say story, but the most information we can in the best way. So, all right, let me give you a practical example from the reading that I read. This one guy, he was doing an oral history project, and he's actually doing an interview. He was like a journalist, and he wanted to find out information about this topic. And he knew that the guy he was interviewing was like some high-ranking general or something, and the general wasn't going to talk about it. But the general loved to talk about his hometown. So he asked the general what people in their hometown, in his hometown, would think about the topic. And in that way, he got the general to talk about it. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of be smart with the questions you ask. I'm not saying you got to trick people, but you have to ask questions in a way that allow people to open up. You know what I mean?
Get them to lead it.
Yeah, like so, for instance, you wouldn't say like, did you have a good time in the military? You know, that's a yes or no question, right? What would you ask?
How was your experience?
Yeah, tell me about that. What were some examples of leadership you saw when you were overseas that you could speak to that kind of,
Ask me the first question.
You know.
Why did you join the military?
yeah, that's a good question.
I'll talk about that all day.
Yeah, that would really get them going.
My mama had 10 kids that slept in one bed.
And then go to the military.
We always tell us that
36 kids and we only had 3 babies.
Sometimes you might have to have twice as many questions as
Bro, I smoke
you
weed,
think,
you know.
because You know, some people were limited to yes and no questions.
Math, 30.
All right, so we are paired up like this, right? Each interviewer has an interviewee. Okay, so what that means is you're going to have to find this person. First of all, I'm going to go around and ask some of these people today. But you're going to have to talk to these people, and you're going to have to establish a rapport with them. You probably know them already. You're going to have to get a little background information from them before you start the interview process. You know, you might sit down with them and say, hey, Sergeant Hernandez, I just wanted to ask you, you know, a little bit about yourself so that when we do the formal interview, we won't look so weird. Where you go to the bathroom?
Officer Wallace.
Who? No. She knows how to talk about the gossip of the 8th grade girls in the middle.
We've already found the people we're going to contact, so this doesn't really apply to us. One thing that this slide covers is important, and I don't think anybody here is going to have a problem with this, considering the people we're interviewing, is as an interviewee, you want to let them talk. Right? You don't want to outshine the interviewer. You want to ask some good questions, and then you just want to sit back. You want to sit back and just take it in, right? Another technique, Jared, another technique you might want to use is called the silent question. Anybody ever heard of that?
The what?
The silent question. It's hard sometimes for people to ask silent questions because people don't like awkward silences, right?
That's when they start talking.
You don't want to be awkward, right? But you just want to just wait. You know, be patient, sit there, and give them a second to respond. You know, you don't have to keep talking. Ask them a question. So sometimes if people are older, you'll notice, I'm not saying we're interviewing old people, but people that are older, you need to give them time to think. You know what I'm saying? To think about things. And it's not that they're slow, it's just that they because they're older, they reflect more. You know what I mean? And they take more time to get to whatever we're talking about.
Man, was Spy Albert in the military?
No.
That would be a good interview.
Yeah, because she can do
That would be. Listen at me now.
No, listen.
These are some of the benefits of doing research.
I used to be a drill sergeant.
One of the main things, calm down, listen. Rein it in a little bit. Listen to me. One of the main benefits of doing research on your subject is what?
So you can see a little bit where they're coming from.
Cut that.
Yeah. And what does it help you do as an interviewer?
Be more informed.
Be more informed, therefore you'll be more confident. You won't look like a dummy. You know, you have plenty of information. You can go in there and show them the respect. Sir, I know about your career. I'm honored to be here talking to you. This is what you've done or whatever. And if they know that you know about them, they're more than likely to open up to you a little bit. So, especially if you're confident, that helps build rapport. These are just some locations that can help you with oral history. Don't worry about that. We're going to do all our information in class. Primary source materials. What is a primary source?
It's just some notes.
What's the difference between a primary and a secondary source?
Primary has actually been there like this side, but it's secondary source.
Exactly. Right? So like, a primary source would be like what? Give me an example from the Civil War.
An actual warfighter.
Yeah, like an actual interview with a soldier in the Civil War.
One of my neighbors been in the Civil War.
That's a primary source. Secondary source is what?
Like someone that heard about it.
Civil War.
Yeah, like, well, when we talk about history, it's something that's removed from the time period, usually. Let's see. Here's some good primary sources. Rare books, pamphlets. These are all written by people who were there at the time. Oral interviews, photographs, maps. These came from the period. That's why they're primary sources. Secondary sources are like after the fact. Right there.
The children.
Yeah, the children, kids, you know. I don't know, that would be a primary source too, I would think.
For sure.
The grandchildren.
All right, so here's some tips to asking questions properly. God, I can't even look at this.
Y'all ask some questions that could be easily answered.
Where's y'all's glow sticks? Y'all get your glow sticks out. Avoid yes or no questions. Obviously, ask open-ended questions. Don't be judgmental. Obviously, you know, be respectful. Number 5 is present yourself as a novice. All right?
Novice.
What is a novice?
Rookie.
What is a novice?
No rookie. Like you're learning from them.
Yeah, exactly, right? You have to be like that.
Go ahead, interview. You gotta interview the
All right, so Dr. Maxwell, my advisor and my instructor on this, told me that she was given an interview with a guy, and he was clamming up, and the student was there asking questions, and the dude was just like, for whatever reason, it was maybe, I don't know if he had an issue with females or whatever, but he just wouldn't open up to her, right? And so his wife was there, and they, like, in an effort to get him to talk, they brought the wife in with this yearbook of photos, and they said, can you talk about some of these photos? So they would look through the photos, and this would get a whole bunch of information going. So encourage your people, when you get them, to bring something that might help, you know, with their memory. Like if they want to bring a photo or maybe a journal from the time period or something. All right, so that can help you out a lot. But hey, I can't go around and be doing all that. You know what I mean? I don't have time to go to 15 people and be like, hey, do you have journals and things? You know, you guys need to do that with your person. All right? And once we get this list hammered out, we're gonna be rolling pretty fast on all of this. Without relatives can be a distraction. The equipment, I'm planning on being there, and if I'm not there, I'm going to show you how to work it, so it shouldn't be an issue. Ethics of oral history. All of this will be covered before we get started. You know, I'm going to explain to the person what we're doing and how we're doing it. But it's important to remember that the narrative is not exclusive to either the interviewee or the interviewer. So, you know, a lot of times the interviewer will take over, and that's all right, but you need to make sure that it's your narrative too. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to want to ask the questions that you thought of, or whatever questions you think will help best to record the story. All right? We're going to send it to the National Archives, so this is not a consideration for us. Restrictions, there's not going to be any restrictions on this unless one of these people asks for it, and I don't think they will. I just have to talk to them. Everyone seems like they think it's a great idea. Here's some more information about it. This is up on the website. You guys remember the wiki I made?
Yeah.
This information is up there if you want to look at it. Now, let us thank you for the freak. Let us move on. This is from the book by Donald Ritchie. It's called Doing Oral History.
By Lionel Richie?
No, not Lionel Richie. You are the sun. You are the rain. Yeah, don't get me started. It makes my life this foolish game. All right. This is the handout. I want you guys to be reading this quietly. And as we read it, this is for the daily grade here.
You have another pencil?
Yeah.
Can I go shop with my pencil?
You need to sign that with blue or black though.
I can't. I'm not painting.
Okay, take your mama.
No, but I still need a.
Coach Brown now, Coach Brown now.
Can I go shop with my pencil?
Hold on just a second. Let me explain this, and then people can do what they need to do.
I gotta shop my I got a pencil in my shop now.
And then I'll come take those up in a second, Cocker. All right, so here's what we're doing. You're reading this. It's not very long. It's only, you read all the way up to who is being interviewed on the last page. You don't have to read that last paragraph, all right? So it's like, it's only a couple pages, 4 pages. And then you fill this out as you go along, okay? This is the daily grade. There's 15 questions. Each one of you is going to be responsible for answering one of the questions when we come back together as a big group. All right, I explained it. Who needs to go sharpen their pencil?
Me. I do.
No. Okay. All right. Hurry up. Hurry back. Hey, yeah. Here, give me that
Good morning.
Look like
The bear. I'm sure. No.
So I did $250. No, so I did $50.
and
That's too much. That's too much work to transfer in a day.